सो एक सांगता हांव इन मॅटरा इनवॉल्व आशिल्लो हायकोर्टाची आनी I was appearing in the matter and I know very well what was going on the ground reality हांव जाणा. What has happened is High Court was issuing directions from time to time and it was being hoped that the High Court directions would be complied with. But unfortunately what we have seen over the years is that High Court directions and the law was thrown to the winds and people did not care and conducted events in such a manner that it became a casualty for people who are living there. The first thing which the High Court has, before tackling the permission which was granted, was to deal with factual situation what happened. Factual situation achchi कित जाला High Courtan reports पडयले and in the reports it is showing that the decibel levels were as high as 70 to 80 which were exceedingly high above 55. Despite this the show was going on and all authorities were there, which only means that they were blessing the event and they were not stopping the event. High Court has come down to show that people were in the middle of the event even pointing out that there are these violations going on, and High Court has demonstrated that in open court one was passing the buck on to the other. While the Pollution Control Board tried to pass on the buck to the police inspector and the SDM, they tried to say we never got any instructions. The question of getting instruction is not needed, because when you are on the site, when you are at the locality and you are monitoring it, then there is no question of you trying to say I was not aware. Even without monitoring, without equipment, you know more or less there is a prima facie violation. The only question is how much is the violation. But you know what is a permissible sound level and what is the decibel the moment it increases. So the first thing which the High Court found was about rampant violation taking place on those days, 28th to 30th of December 2022, with the authorities being mute spectators. This is the word of the High Court, mute spectators at the event. Now the reason which they tried to give was, the police and the magistrate tried to say that they were there for law and order, and because they were controlling the crowd and they were looking after law and order, they could not attend to this. And it is in that context that the Chief Secretary recommended a high-powered committee, a coordination committee, and this is what it is supposed to be put into effect, which the High Court has directed. With great respect, I would, with great respect, submit that I would not agree to such a committee, because again, the same officers will be on duty for law and order. When we had filed a petition and I was arguing on behalf of Arnal Costa in the High Court, we had made a suggestion: appoint other officers to come to monitor, because the other officers who are of the rank of SP and deputy collectors, executive magistrates, they can come and they can monitor, while you are left to law and order. Because if you mix up the two, you will not be able to control both at the same time. Unfortunately, the government kept on giving assurances and our suggestion went in cold storage. So therefore I feel that this should be revived to allow this kind of external magisterial powers officers. There are many officers who are in the cold storage who are doing nothing. They can be brought in. Even police officers are in cold storage. They can be brought in, activated during this time. So then this becomes a good team. Now the second part of it is, the High Court then went to examine on the legality of the grant of the permission. And the High Court held that on the 5th of January 2022, the notification which was issued, on the basis of which these permissions were granted. There was complete breach of it. For the event of this scale which was being held, the High Court held that it was given in a great hurry overnight. The High Court has put a table to show when the application was made for Sunburn permission, when it was granted, and when the Pollution Control Board permission and when the SDM permission was obtained. That was obtained on 27th, the other two were obtained on 27th for the event on 28th. Now this is very shocking because the High Court itself expresses it. You need time. You need time to make an analysis. You need time to get reports because event of this scale requires not simply sound pollution but also monitoring, traffic circulation, law and order, security measures, all this has to be taken into account and then permission to be granted. So therefore, the High Court came down by saying that the permission granted was in breach of the rules, in breach of the law, and therefore quashed this permission. Now the question is, I ask, sometimes I think about it. You would remember some years back when Sunburn was to be held, statements were made that Sunburn will not be allowed to be held. And I think, I make a charge that these kind of statements are being made to increase the price. So that with the moment you say no,